Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Friday. We've made it to the end of the week. Your reward, 2.5 hours of sports talk coming your way on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and live on our streaming video platforms as well. Our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're tuned into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along in the 4 o'clock hour. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. We are with you for 2.5 hours today, not the usual 3, because the Royals are on the East Coast. To be specific, they're in the Bronx for the first of 3 tonight against the New York Yankees. Probably a good thing they aren't in Kansas City tonight. I'm not sure there'd be baseball in Kansas City. Maybe there would be, but it would be quite the weather delay to have to sit through if people were headed to the K tonight. It's probably a good thing that people aren't having to weigh whether or not to make that trip. Good time for the Royals to be on the road. First of 3 against the Yankees tonight. A 6:10 first pitch, 5:30 pregame coverage from the Royals Baseball Network, as the boys of blue look to snap a 4-game losing skid and earn their first win of this current road trip after being swept by the Tigers in Detroit. Michael Wacha on the hill for Kansas City tonight. Cam Schlittler. That's one you got to be careful about saying on live air. He is the starting pitcher for the Yankees tonight. 5:30 pregame coverage here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So up until then, we've got 2.5 hours to hang out together. I want to talk about an aspect of the Royals that I genuinely think we're going to learn a lot about here over the course of the next 3 days of the rest of this road trip. And frankly, something I think we learned a little bit about yesterday as well. Because this was a question I was asking of the Royals after back-to-back 2-1 losses where the offense was feeble and the tying run was left stranded at third base in the 9th inning. And then they go behind 6-1 in yesterday's game against the Tigers before rallying to take a 9-7 lead, which, of course, if you're listening to this, you know they did not hold on to in a 10-9 gut punch of a 9th inning loss. But this is a moment for Royals leadership to stand up and be counted. And I do wonder about the leadership of this team, because I think what we saw last year shows the danger of the kind of leadership I think exists in that clubhouse. But I wonder if times like these and the prospect of another slow April start staring the Royals in the face for a second consecutive year might require a different touch from the leadership. And I don't just mean the players, I mean the coaches and manager Matt Quatrero as well. And some thoughts on that we'll get into on today's show. And also look ahead to this weekend's series against the Yankees, who, well, they aren't playing great baseball. They're 10-9 on the year. They've been right around average, probably a little bit below on offense. Starting pitching's been pretty good. Guy you're seeing tonight, if you don't know him, you should. He's one of the great young arms in the game, Cam Schlittler. And we'll preview tonight's game. We'll get a look at the lineups, all that stuff coming up here on the show today. Also, plenty of Chiefs talk. First, coming up bottom of this hour, Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider from ChiefsDigest.com. We are now less than a week away from the start of the NFL draft. Less than a week away from the NFL draft. So Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com is going to stop by, and we'll get his predictions, because by the time we talk to him next, the Chiefs will have made their first-round selections, number 9 and number 29. At least that's what they're scheduled to pick in next Thursday's first round of the draft. So we'll get Matt Derrick's thoughts on that. Also his thoughts on what Brett Veach had to say. And speaking of that, we were going to play that for you yesterday on the show. And then we ended up going from an anticipated 3 hours of sports talk yesterday to 30 minutes. Game delayed twice by weather in Detroit. It was the whole thing. Anyhow, Brett Veach spoke to the media, did a Zoom with the media yesterday, and I thought it was really good to the point where we're going to run it today. We'll break it up into two parts because Brett Veach is going to tell you exactly what he's thinking. There's not a lot of smokescreen here, I think, in Brett Veach's remarks. And what I think is really interesting about the things he has to say is how it could reveal how the Chiefs are really thinking about approaching this upcoming draft, in particular, what they might do with that number 9 pick overall. So we're going to hear from Brett Veach coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. You'll hear everything, just about everything. We made some small cuts, but cut maybe a question. But we'll hear everything that Brett Veach had to say, and we'll break it down here on the program. We'll also have our 580 Sports Talk headlines, including the return, the triumphant return of the Playoff Roundup. Playoff Roundup is back, folks. Playoff Roundup is back because the NBA and NHL playoffs both get underway this weekend. So we got our first playoff roundup of many more to come over the coming couple of months in our 580 Sports Talk headline segment. We've also going to crown a What Is Wrong With You champion for the week. We'll do Change My Mind. We'll do On Second Thought, all that fun stuff here on the show. Ways to interact with the program today. I hope you will make avail of these. I would love to hear from you on this Friday. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us on the live stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Again, hop in there, say hello to your fellow listeners, interact with your hosts throughout the show, our live YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. Two pieces of business to get to real quick. First, our Win 1K a Day sweepstakes is ongoing. We're giving away $1,000 today here on 580 WIBW, and you can register for a chance to win by texting a keyword every hour to 785-272-9429. This hour's keyword is ear. Ear. E-A-R. Ear. Text the word ear. E-A-R. Ear. To 785-272-9429. Text that word you have from now until 4 o'clock to text ear to 785-272-9429. That will get you registered for a chance to win $1,000 today. Also, there is, as you may all be aware, a threat of severe weather in our area this afternoon into this evening. As events warrant, we will keep you up to date here on 580 WIBW. We can pass along right now that there is a severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued by the National Weather Service in Topeka for south central Shawnee County, southeastern Wabunsee County, northern Osage County, and northeastern Lyon County until 3:45 p.m. Central Time. At 3:09 p.m. Central Time, a severe thunderstorm was located near Admire, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour, including 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and half-dollar-sized hail. Hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted in this severe thunderstorm warning include Osage City, Burlingame, Scranton, Harveyville, Reading, Allen, and Admire. This includes Kansas Turnpike between mile markers 139 and 166. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Again, that is a severe thunderstorm warning for south central Shawnee County, southeastern Wabunsee County, northern Osage County, and northeastern Lyon County until 3:45 Central Time. There's also a tornado watch that is in effect for most of our listening area right up until 9 p.m. tonight. So, again, severe weather chances for this evening are enhanced. And so if there are warnings to pass along here today, we will pass them along on 580 WIBW. We'll keep you up to date on the weather. So the Royals got swept in Detroit, and it wasn't pretty. It was 3 one-run losses. All of the games were winnable. Certainly yesterday's should have been won. For the want of one more out, with a 2-run lead in the 9th inning, That should have been a victory for the Royals, and it was not. And few more frustrating ways to lose than by one run, 3 straight days to a division rival. It makes it feel right now that the Royals are simultaneously very close to the Tigers and far away from the Tigers. And I do think that the Tigers right now can stake their claim, and did over the last 3 days, that they're the standard bearers in the American League Central for 2026. I know Cleveland won the division last year, snuck up and snaked it on the final day. I know Minnesota's off to a decent start with a bunch of randos hitting for high averages that I don't expect to last very long. Detroit feels like the standard. The odds, the projection models, they all say Detroit's the standard. And the Royals the last 3 days showed they're very close, but also it feels like they're very far away at the same time. And now they go to New York, and this is not exactly the get-right series you would like to see on the schedule. If you could choose who you would go play on the road for 3 games following a painful 3-game road sweep, the Yankees would be very low on the list of opponents that you would choose to play. Not just given the history between the Royals and the Yankees, just in general with who the Yankees are, how tough that lineup can be, how good some of their starting pitching is. The deck is a little stacked as the Royals go to the Bronx this weekend. And if they can only salvage 1 game in this series, they will return home with the exact same 8-14 mark that the Royals started with last season. The exact same. The Royals through 22 games last year were 8-14. That was through 22 games. Do you remember what their record was through 40 games? It was 24-16 because they went on that ridiculous stretch where they won 16 out of 18. Schedule softened a tad. They got to play Colorado at home in there. I know that. They had the White Sox in there, I think. But still, they won 16 of 18 right after this bad stretch. And I bring that up by way of saying that, look, an 8-14 start isn't the end of the world. But at the same time, I think we are about to learn. And I think we started to learn a little yesterday about the leadership of this ball club. I think we would all agree that the Kansas City Royals roster as presently constructed is setting aside performance, if that's even possible for you. Just talking about the guys on the team. This is a likable baseball team, right? A likable group of guys. The personalities are good. They play hard. They're about the right things. These guys don't embarrass the organization off the field. You can pretty safely, if you're a fan and you've got a kid, a young son or a daughter who's a fan of the team, you pretty safely buy them a number 7 or a number 9 or a number 13 jersey, right? And this group of guys seems to have a really strong esprit de corps. They seem to like each other. That, I think, has built over the last 2 to 3 years. Vinny Pasquantino, in particular, is a big part of that. He's kind of the connective tissue between the guys who came up with him and the guys who've been around a long time and the new guys who are going to be part of, we all hope, a long-term core in Kansas City, are guys like Jack Caglione and Carter Jensen. I think the Royals have a good clubhouse full of guys who give a damn and compete. But I also think that it's important to have a balance of personalities. And I wonder if there's enough, for lack of a better term to use here, I wonder if there's enough red ass on this baseball team. If you go back to the championship team in 2015, the faces of that team, it wasn't Salvador Perez yet. Like he was certainly an important piece, World Series MVP, Gold Glover, like not diminishing Salvador Perez's role on those pennant-winning teams, the championship team, but the faces of that team were Alex Gordon, Mike Moustakas, Eric Hosmer. Those are the guys I consider kind of the faces of the championship team. And those guys were ferocious competitors. and they would get in the other team's face. How many times did that team in 2015 get in a bench clearing situation? Not like brawls, but how many times were there, tete-a-tetes that required the bullpen to come sprinting in and the benches to clear? There were quite a few. A lot of those were because there's a young hothead by the name of Yordano Ventura who started a lot of those things. But still, they always had their guys back, right? Like, that was the personality of that championship team. So if that's what they were on the field, it is certainly not a stretch to imagine that those guys could get in each other's faces a little bit to keep people accountable. It's also why I don't sense, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. In fact, I'm honestly curious. 785-272-9429 is the text line. You can also comment on the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. I don't know what y'all think of Eric Hosmer so far in the Royals broadcast. He's only going to be on a third of the TV broadcast this year. It looks like they're splitting it evenly between Hosmer, Jeremy Guthrie, and Rex Hudler. I don't know what you guys think of Hosmer on TV yet. I think he's very much a work in progress as a commentator. I think he has a lot to say. I think he loves the game and knows the game. I think he's a little bit old-fashioned in some ways that make him at times sound a little behind the times. But I think he's got a legitimate passion for the Royals, and I'm interested to see how he develops as a broadcaster. A lot of the reviews I've read so far of him on the mic have not been real positive, but I think that it's interesting to have him on the TV broadcast right now, especially in this current state of play where the Royals find themselves 7-12 to start this season. He can speak from the experience of what it is to be a leader in the clubhouse. And he noted last night, after the Royals had lost that game, in the painful fashion in which they lost it, that this Royals team probably needs to hear a message from one of their leaders. And he cited in particular Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt Jr., a message that would be essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, the fight we showed today is going to win us a lot of games, so we got to keep fighting. I think that's probably right. I do think that even though it was a difficult and frustrating and painful loss on Thursday, you started to see the formula for the offense to wake up from its early April slumber, and you certainly saw a team that fought. You saw a team that dug its heels in, down 6-1 in the middle innings. Your starting pitcher doesn't have it. Their starting pitcher has it. Cater Montero was really good. And that would have been a really easy one to kind of pack in. But the Royals said, no, we're not packing this in. We're going to put together some good at-bats. We're going to grind out some innings. We're going to put a crooked number up. And then they took the lead. That showed me something positive about some of the dugout leadership of this team. But broadly speaking, this is the thing that I'm worried about with these Royals. I worry that they are a little bit too much of a front-running bunch. And what I mean when I say that is I worry that they are a group that when things are going good, it's really good in that clubhouse. The vibes are high. Everybody's having a good time. And it's for those groups, when things are rolling, they roll. Look no further than last year, right? When that team would get hot, the hot streaks lasted not just, it's a nice little 4 or 5 game winning streak. The streaks would last weeks, plural. 16 of 18 in April and into May, for instance. But the flip side of a personality of a clubhouse like that is when things are low, it's hard to pull it out of a spiral. It's hard to pull things out of a ditch. And that's where I do wonder who the accountability guy is in the Royals clubhouse. Who's going to stand in front of the other 25 guys and say, this run of performance is not acceptable. It stops today, and a new level of performance, a different standard, it starts today, and it starts with me. Who's the guy that can do that? Because, frankly, in this moment, Salvador Perez is a guy, and he's got the C on his chest, right? You think of him first. But I don't know that Salvy's ever been the fire and brimstone sort of leader, and that's fine. Like, he doesn't have to be a captain. And guys lead by example all the time, and I think Salvador Perez has done that. But he's not going to get up in front of the clubhouse and say, hey, buck stops with me. I'm going to go out and go 2 for 4 tonight with an RBI. I'm going to hit one out, and you guys follow my lead. That's tough for a guy who's off to the kind of slow start that Salvador Perez is off to. Though, again, maybe snapped out of that a little bit with his 3-run dinger yesterday. Vinny Pasquantino, same thing. Like, is he that guy, or is he too much of the jovial, buddy, connective tissue type of personality to be taken real seriously if he were to get in front of the room and say, hey, let's cut the crap. Enough is enough. Buck stops here. It stops with me. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get 3 hits tonight, and I'm going to lead us to victory. Get behind me. Again, a tough thing to do when you're hitting a $150, $160 to start the season. That's where I think we might learn a little bit this year about Bobby Witt Jr. as a leader, because he's a ball player, right? Competes every night. He hasn't played his best baseball to start 2026, but he's certainly not the reason the Royals are 7-12. And outside of the Royals clubhouse, the broad perception, he's the face of the Royals. Is this the time for him to start to be the guy that calls the meeting or stands up in the middle of the clubhouse, says, guys, this isn't acceptable. Time to look in the mirror, time to hold ourselves accountable, and it's going to start with me tonight. Because he's the one guy gifted enough to say, hey, this run of play stops and reverses, and it starts with me. I'm going to go on a hot streak. I'm going to throw out 2 doubles and score 3 runs, and we're going to get it rolling in the right direction. We're going to learn about the leadership of this team, because they are not going into an easy place to play. Historically, never been an easy place for the Royals to play. Recent history, same thing. Against a good team that is also off to its own choppy start a little bit and trying to get a foothold back in the American League East. What kind of fight do the Royals show this weekend? Does it look a little bit more like Tuesday and Wednesday? A lot of meek at bats, a little bit of rolling over, not enough fight till it's too late? Or does the collective team spirit look a little bit more like it did on Thursday? Now, team spirit only but goes so far. We saw that yesterday. You know, if team spirit accounted for wins and losses, Royals would have shared a win with the Tigers yesterday. Both teams showed tremendous fight, tremendous grit, all those things. But I think we're going to learn about the leadership of this club. We're going to learn about just how much they can take accountability for these early season struggles and not wait for a break in the schedule to get right, but go out and take a couple of games from a good team on the road. Because you can get a series this weekend in New York and have a happy flight back to Kansas City. And that changes the perception of how the rest of April and the rest of the season can go for this team. We'll take a timeout. Want to hear from you. 785-272-9429 on the text line. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Matt Derrick coming up in just a bit to talk Chiefs. We're going to hear a lot of Brett Veach's comments from yesterday in the 4 o'clock hour. We got What Is Wrong With You? We got headlines, including a playoff roundup. Here with you until 5:30 today on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for being here. 3:32 on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting things rolling on this Friday afternoon. Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs Insider, going to join us here in just a little bit. Talking about the Royals' disappointing trip through Detroit. They sit at 7-12 going to the Bronx this weekend. Jay Hawker has concerns in the YouTube live chat. Says Royals are playing themselves out of contention. You can't win the division in April, but you can lose it. You've heard me say that many a time on this program, and it is true. Here's the flip side of that, though. That part of it takes two, right? It takes a slow start and somebody else throwing a marker down. And both of those things happened to the Royals last year, where when they lost to the Tigers April 19th of last year to drop to 8-14, which was sort of their early season nadir. Before they turned it around, they won 16 their next 18. They were 5.5 games out of first place when that happened. And after they won 16 out of 18, they'd only made up 3 games in that stretch. They were only 3 games better than Detroit over that same stretch of time. That's how good Detroit was to start last season. Like if Detroit had played 500 ball in that stretch or even just above, Royals might have been in first place by the time that hot streak had wrapped up. So it takes not just a slow start, but somebody else has to go out and set a strong pace. I don't think anybody's capable of doing that in the Central. That's why, like, big picture, I'm still not wringing my hands over, oh, they got no shot in the Central now. Detroit has kind of proven they're the team to beat, and then they're the team that the Royals, if they're going to win the Central, have to figure out how to go through them. But I don't think Minnesota is going to be the front runner in this division that sets that kind of pace. I don't think Cleveland is. I don't think either of those teams are capable of doing that. Now, we'll see. Detroit's now 10-9. They've won, I believe, 6 in a row. And if they keep that winning streak going for a while, and the Royals find themselves behind 4, 5, 6 games by the time April ends, then yeah, you got a problem. But that is an equation that takes 2, and I'm not sure what the other side of that equation is against the Royals right now. More thoughts from the live chat here on our YouTube channel. Andrew asks, who do you have more faith in to turn it around and hold it steady for the Royals, the bullpen or the offense? That's a good question, to be completely honest with you, because bullpens are just volatile. Generally speaking, unless you're one of the absolute frontline guys, like year-over-year proven frontline guy, like Mason Miller for San Diego. You look at Mason Miller's stats lately. He struck out the side again last night for the Padres. He has 23 strikeouts in 9 1/3 innings. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Those are the kinds of numbers the kid puts them up in Little League and everybody wants to see his birth certificate. He's unreal, man. But, like, if you're a guy like that, or if you're a guy, the guys who are like borderline Hall of Fame closers, your guys like, or actual Hall of Fame closers, your Mariano Rivera's, your Kenley Jansen's, your, guys that over and over and over again, Aroldis Chapman, guys who over and over and over again prove that they can put up numbers, save games, all that. Your results are going to fluctuate. Because if you were like a really, really good pitcher, you'd still be a starter. All relievers are failed starters. So there's always going to be that volatility to the bullpen. And the Royals bullpen still doesn't miss enough bats that are going to be even more subject to volatility, because a lot of their success is going to depend on where are the fielders standing vis-a-vis the balls coming off the bat. If Vinny Pasquantino had been playing no doubles last night, maybe he makes a play on Riley Green's double that tied the game, and maybe that's final out. So stability, I don't really associate with most any bullpen, but it's hard to really think that this is a Royals bullpen that you're going to be able to consider stable moving forward. Could be wrong if they start missing some more bats when the weather warms up. But right now, that is always going to be the more volatile part of this team. And I think there were some legitimately good signs for the Royals offense yesterday. Let's hope they keep them up. It won't come easy against Cam Schlittler of the Yankees tonight. Man, why did that have to be his name? It's It's such a difficult name. It is the worst name for a sports broadcaster. You can't speed through it. There are two bad things. It's not just one bad thing that can happen if you trip over that name. There are two bad things that could happen if you trip over that name. Cam Schlittler against Michael Wacha tonight in the Bronx. Pregame 5:30 here on 580 WIBW. We'll take a break. When we come back, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. We go to Kansas City and meet our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, who joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline this and every Friday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, by this time next week, we will know probably 2 brand new members of the Kansas City Chiefs. How prepared do you feel now for the NFL draft?
I never feel prepared for the NFL draft. And, every time I think I've got a grasp on it every year and everything, it all spirals out of control. So I feel like I've got a pretty good idea about what the Chiefs want and what they're going to do, but you can't guarantee anything. And the only thing you can guarantee is that by probably the 5th selection of the first round, everything's going to go off the rails anyway. So sometimes you ask yourself, what's the point?
You got a chance to be in on the Zoom call with Brett Veach yesterday. He spoke to the media. We were going to play that on yesterday's show, but then the Royals game got delayed umpteen times and ended up not being able to. We're going to play it for the people a little bit later on because I thought Brett Veach had a lot of really interesting stuff to say to you guys yesterday. But what stood out the most to you from the Chiefs general manager's remarks yesterday?
There was a few nuggets, and one in particular that I thought was pretty intriguing, Dan, was when he told me that they've had about 12 defensive ends and for visits for their 30 visits this year. That's clearly a position that they've invested a lot of time into, and it's not like they're going to come out of the draft with 3 defensive ends. It could take 2, though. Maybe they're going to take 1. But they've kicked the tires on a lot of these guys. They clearly, that's an area of interest and a concern. And Veach has mentioned that, obviously. He's underscored that defensive end is one of the premium positions that they want to address along with corner and receiver. I thought that was a notable number. I mean, if you've spent that much time visiting with edge rushers in this draft, that's the direction you're going to go. I thought he kind of clarified a little bit that if if they do take an offensive tackle, it's certainly not going to be a 9. It might be a 29, but he also made it clear it's going to be a right tackle. It doesn't have to be a right tackle. It could be a left tackle, but they're not bringing anybody in to compete with Josh Simmons. They would be bringing somebody in that could maybe compete with Jalen Moore, but more specifically be their right tackle of the future. Like you said, there was a lot of nuggets. So I wouldn't be surprised if you came up with different things than I did.
Well, the way he talked about offensive tackles was fascinating, I thought. And I'll start there because that was just one that kind of raised a blinking light for me when he was talking about how outside of the top 10, he feels like the quality slips quite a bit. Is that a signal, one, that maybe Veach doesn't like that second tier of offensive tackle, that like Monroe Freeling, Caden Proctor, Maxi Iheanacho class of offensive tackle, Caleb Lomu class of offensive tackle? Or is that a signal to a team maybe drafting in the teens, hey, if you want one of these tackles and they're there at 9, maybe you might want to come and get it from me. I might be open for business.
Hey, Brett Veach is always open for business. So could he be signaling some people behind him to say, hey, you want one of these offensive linemen, and there's not that many at the top that are worth it. If you want to make sure you get your guy, come and get it. I think he was also, maybe even just prepping, the Chiefs fans for the idea that they may take a tackle at 29 and not to be surprised, in what the plan is. Because I think what he said really resonated with me in the sense that it does drop off after 35 or 40. Whomever is that last tackle, whether it's Lomu or was it Blake Miller's another one. I mean, there's going to be somebody who's going to be the last one. And honestly, there might not be an offensive tackle taken in the second round, or if there is, it's really at the beginning in that 33 to 40 range. And I think he specifically talked about 35 to 40 being where it kind of drops off. I've seen some consensus mock boards that, have maybe that tail end of tackles trailing into the beginning of the second round. And then there not being another tackle on the board for maybe 25 more picks down into the 60s. So I think there's something legitimate there about the fact that there's a couple of tackles. Some teams might have 1, some teams might have 0. Even like the, Francis Malinoga is kind of the consensus number 1 tackle, and there's not even a consensus that he's a tackle. I mean, some people are projecting him as a guard. So, there's a lot of questions at the top about these tackles, and some of the guys that might go in the top 32. I think there are guys that are worth a chance, but again, it's everybody for the most part in this draft has some sort of flag. If not flags, and at least fleas. There's no one that's currently just a purely claim candidate, except for honestly a couple of guys maybe that are just at non-premium positions.
Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com is our guest. He's our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk, and he joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Back to your point about the defensive ends or the edges, and really the point Brett Veach made, how many they had in for their 30 visits in this pre-draft process. We know there are guys who are going to go early in the class that Arvell Reese and David Bailey and Ruben Bain are all in. And you also see a lot of names connected later in the first round, maybe early in the second round. Do you think the Chiefs may be in a spot where they want to come away from the draft with maybe 2 with their first 3 picks, that they could be in a spot where that they feel is such position of need and such an opportunity to grab young talent at a premium position that they might come out with more than just one on the first 2 days of the draft?
Yeah, it's a distinct possibility, and I think it would probably depend maybe a little bit about who are the players. And for instance, if they took a guy like Ruben Bain at 9, Bain's the kind of guy that you could see maybe being a little bit of a reverse Chris Jones. He's somebody you would project to be an edge rusher, at least on early downs, but he's also a guy that you could kick inside to a 3-tech, an interior pass rusher on third down. So, if you get a guy like that then gives you a little bit of support in passing situations inside, then I think you really get a lot more freedom maybe to take another pure edge rusher, because, we've been talking about it. This defensive line is going to have 4 to 5 new faces on it this year, and they've only added 1 so far. They got the free agent in Tonga, which I think is still going to be a nice addition for them. But, that's not the end of it. And they would love, I think, to come out of this draft with a couple of defensive tackles. That might be hard because there's just not a bunch of defensive tackles at the top of this draft. There's maybe a good pocket in the second, third, and fourth rounds. But it's going to be difficult. But you're right. I mean, if it's the right players, maybe some guys that you can get some snaps out from the inside, they could maybe end up going with 2 edge rushers at the top of the draft.
Matt, do you know if the Chiefs were present at Jordan Tyson's workout today?
It's a great question. I've been trying to confirm that. I've seen a couple of lists out there. I haven't heard for sure that they were one of the teams that was there. I also, is my understanding that Jordan Tyson took a visit with the Chiefs. That's not been officially confirmed. But that's my understanding, is that he did come to Kansas City and they got a chance to take a look at his medicals and felt good with that, honestly. So it was my understanding. So if they skipped out on that today in Arizona, it wouldn't stun me. And maybe they were just in hiding. So if Brett Veach or Chris Shea, somebody who stands out, wasn't out there, but hey, maybe it's an area scout. Maybe those guys were a little bit below the radar and don't pop off and everything. But I can safely say from talking to people in the organization that this club has definitely done its due diligence on Jordan Tyson.
I'm starting to feel like he might be the most realistic receiver option if the Chiefs go that direction at number 9, more so than Carnell Tate. I've never really felt like Mekhi Lemon was in play for the Chiefs there. If Tyson were to be the pick, what would be his fit in the Chiefs offense, and how would he complement the guys who are already on the scene at wide receiver for the Chiefs in 26?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I mean, I've literally have heard this now from more than a half dozen people that I've talked to about the draft process and about Tyson in particular. And it's that this phrase that the Chiefs haven't had a guy like this in a long time. And to me, that resonates with me because I think he reminds me in some ways of Sammy Watkins. And, in that he's a reliable possession receiver. He can play a little bit of anywhere. I think that for the Chiefs, I think he would probably, at least at the beginning, be an outside guy that would allow you to move maybe Rashee Rice into the slot more, have him line up opposite Xavier Worthy. That would be a pretty tough trio if you had those 3 guys on the field together. He's a polished receiver. I mean, he's a good route runner. He looks like he's added some strength. I know there's some questions about the quality of his reps on the bench press at the combine, but he still did 26 of them, which is a ridiculous number for a wide receiver. I think there's a lot to like there. And, the question is just, do you think he can be a good fit, and is he healthy? All indications are that it sounds like he is healthy. And if that's the case, I think this is a guy that you could see absolutely sliding in with what the Chiefs currently have and not disrupting the apple cart too much. I don't think he would be, repetitive. In some ways, I don't know if that's true with the other guys. Carnell Tate, I think he might be, I don't know if he would be a true, he's probably more of a slot guy, which would probably require you to have Rashee Rice more on the outside. And I think the Chiefs would try to get away from that. And I'm not, Lemon is probably the same way, but I think that he might just be one of those 3 guys, the guy that fits the least with the Chiefs. I think that I don't think there's any doubt to me. I think Jordan Tyson, with this, just his size, his ability to just catch the football, to be kind of a big presence. I mean, I've heard some comparisons that, hey, this guy's ceiling is Jamar Chase, and I mean, if that's who you're getting compared to, that's a kind of receiver that the Chiefs have not had in the Patrick Mahomes era.
A couple more questions for our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com, joining us in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. All right, put on your Brett V chat here, Matt, for the 2 first-round picks that the Chiefs have. Number 9 for the Chiefs. What do you think is the most likely position they end up with at number 9 as it stands right now?
It's a great question again, because I mean, I think there's 2 or 3 candidates. I do think that the one that the Chiefs covet the most, I think, is Jordan. I think I cut out there.
Yeah,
my face put you on hold.
We got you now. We got you now.
But I said I think they're going to take Jordan Tyson, and so that would be receiver. But if Tyson's not available there, I'm not sure a receiver is the second choice. I think they're prepared to go other direction. I mean, it's a little bit of best available, but maybe the best available fit. And if that's the case, I could also still see them going edge rusher with a guy like Bain. I could see them going cornerback with a guy like Mansour Delane. I do think the Chiefs are in the camp where they feel that, like a guy like Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs might be two of the best players in this draft. And if they're there, do you consider one of those guys? Because Caleb Downs gets a lot of comparisons to Tyrann Mathieu. That would be a great fit in a Chiefs defense, would be a young Tyrann Mathieu. And Delane's probably the most reliable and best bet as a corner. There's some other corners that are maybe you could take a flyer on, but I think any of those guys are possible at 9.
And if there is a trade that Brett Veach makes on day one of the draft, which pick do you think is more likely to get moved, 9 or 29? And which direction is it likelier that the Chiefs would go, up in the draft or back?
I think it's more likely at 29, and I think it's more likely to go up. I don't get the sense that they're really seriously looking at moving up. I mean, maybe that could be the case if there's a one particular player that they want and they feel like that they have to move up to go get this guy. But I also don't get the sense that they want to move any higher than maybe 6 or 7. But at 9, in a draft like this that Brett Veach keeps saying is unique, and whenever he says unique, if you want to substitute the word terrible, I think you're okay with that, because I think that's what he's trying to say. There's just not a lot of elite first-round talent in this draft. So, if you've got 8 guys that you have a first-round grade on, which is entirely possible, maybe even 8 players if you exclude, a player that the Chiefs won't take, like a Fernando Mendoza or Jeremiah Love or something. You get to 9, there's a chance that there's only one first-round, legitimate player on your board left. And I think you got to take that guy. At 29, they've got the currency to move up a bit. It wouldn't cost them a ton. And I could see if there's a tackle that they like, I could certainly see them moving up to, maybe 23 to 25, somewhere in there, if they felt like they needed to make sure they get the guy they want.
Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs at ChiefsDigest.com. He's our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk. Joins us every Friday at this time. Matt, by the time we talk, we'll know some new Chiefs to talk about next Friday. Enjoy the draft, my friend. We'll talk next week.
I appreciate it. Can't wait to talk to you about it next week.
That is Matt Derrick. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk with an On Second Thought next. On second thought, going back to a point we were making before we talked to Matt Derrick, we were talking Royals, about the volatility of this Royals bullpen. I really thought we'd see a bounce back in strikeout production from some of these guys this season. And so far in April, that's not happened, most notably for Lucas Erceg. And it's going to have to happen for Erceg. He's an important piece of this bullpen. He's especially important right now. He's the closer. He'll remain important even when Carlos Estevez gets back, and that's not imminent. He hasn't started a rehab assignment yet. Erceg's going to get the most important outs. He's going to have to get some of those with the swing and the miss. And those numbers really do have to bounce back. I was expecting that they would, and so far they have not. Do want to pass along that there is currently a severe thunderstorm warning for southern Osage, northern Coffee, and southeastern Lyon County until 4:15 p.m. Central Time, including 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. Locations include Burlington, Linden, Lebo, Waverly, Opie, New Strawn, Melbourne, Hartford, Neosho Rapids, Reading, Olivet, Beto Junction, John Redmond Reservoir, and Melbourne Lake. We'll keep you posted on severe weather as the threat continues in our area throughout the show today. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, though, we'll hear from Brett Veach. We'll crown a What Is Wrong With You champion for the week here on 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Friday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. We are with you until 5:30 tonight before we break away for Royals baseball. The Royals and Yankees start a 3-game set in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium tonight. Michael Wacha, your starter for the Royals. Cam Schlittler has the ball for the Yankees. I'm getting better at saying it. The more I say it, the more comfortable I feel with Schlittler. I don't think I'm going to get anything wrong with that one, but it is dangerous. It remains dangerous. I will remain vigilant every time I say the name, Cam Schlittler.
I mean, I feel like you have to.
Yes.
Because anytime you can just slip up.
Yes, and it's not like you can only slip up one way and it's bad. You can slip up 2 ways and it's bad.
Yeah.
So, yes, Cam Schlittler starts for the Yankees tonight. First pitch tonight at 6:10, 5:30 pregame here on 580 WIBW. Do want to pass this along. We have just received this, that there is a tornado warning in effect until 4:30 p.m. Central Time for southeastern Osage and northeastern Coffee counties. At 4:04 p.m. Central Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Beto Junction, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. Radar indicated rotation and quarter-size hail. Flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur, and tree damage is likely. Locations impacted in this storm include Linden, Waverly, Melbourne, Olivet, Melbourne Lake, and Beto Junction. This includes Interstate 35 between mile markers 150 and 166. If you are within that range that we just discussed, take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building and avoid windows. If you are outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Again, a tornado warning is in effect until 4:30 p.m. Central Time for southeastern Osage and northeastern Coffee counties. Radar indicating the rotation and quarter-size hail along with this storm. Locations impact including Linden, Waverly, Melbourne, Olivet, Melbourne Lake, and Beto Junction. If you're watching along with WIBW's Facebook page, WIBW News, or on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, we're going to endeavor to get you a look at the radar map as it currently stands and take a look at that storm that is capable of and has produced. It is a tornado warning, so a tornado has been spotted. Rotation has been spotted. Again, this is right down Interstate 75, straight south of Topeka in that range. And we're going to, again, try to get that radar map up for you on our video channel if we can do that. And there we do have it right there. My apologies at Beto Junction. I do apologize for the mispronunciation there. But as you can see, or as we'll tell you and walk you through, this is part of this big line of storms where there are a lot of severe warnings here, thunderstorm warnings. There's been a tornado watch that is in effect for most of eastern Kansas and into western and northwest Missouri tonight. And this line of storms continues to track in a line kind of starting at the southwest side, southwest of Wichita, all the way up through the Kansas City metro area, up kind of just east of St. Joseph there, along 36 and onward from there. This storm in particular, you can sort of see some of that rotation come in at the top there, just kind of south of Linden, northwest of Melbourne. It appears that the most severe portion of this storm is sort of on its way towards that I-75 corridor right now, as it continues to track to the northeast. And there's another storm in that cluster moving up through Douglas County right now. There are a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings that we are able to pass along as well. Want to make sure that we get you the most up-to-date weather information. Obviously, when we have a tornado warning, we stay with that warning until that tornado warning has passed. But there are some other severe thunderstorm warnings to pass along. There's one in effect for another few minutes here for southwestern Douglas County, including Globe. There is also one in effect for another few minutes for southern Osage, northern Coffee, and southeastern Lyon counties, including Burlington, Linden, Lebo, Waverly, New Strawn, Melbourne, Hartford, Neosho Rapids, Reading, Olivet, Beto Junction, John Redmond Reservoir, and Melbourne Lake, including Interstate 35 between mile markers 142 and 165. With this severe weather day, there's also it bears noting a line of storms that's starting to enter Kansas, kind of southwest of Wichita, and that line moving kind of northeast as well towards Emporia, towards the Kansas Turnpike, kind of tracking right there in that direction towards, again, Osage County. As far as Topeka, north and west, right now, nothing really developing in those ranges. We have had some rain in the area. We had some rain here at our Huntoon Hill studios, but presently the threat of that at least appears to have passed. But these storms, what's made them dangerous is that they've kind of been pop-up storms given the wind and given the atmospheric conditions. They've just kind of been popping up as they go, and that includes this storm that has included some of the tornadic activity here. We do, I believe, have an updated severe thunderstorm warning for Douglas County. We do, and an update. 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, in fact, have just been issued. So let's get to those real quick. Again, we are in a tornado warning, which we can also tell you where at 4:04 p.m., a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Beto Junction. Locations impacted in this tornado warning for southeastern Osage and northeastern Coffee counties includes Linden, Waverly, Melbourne, Olivet, Melbourne Lake, and Beto Junction, including Interstate 35 between mile markers 150 and 188. Also have these severe thunderstorm warnings to tell you about. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for Franklin County, western Anderson County, southeastern Osage County, and Coffee County until 4:45 p.m. At 4:11, severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Linden to near Waverly to near Burlington, and these storms are moving due east at 60 miles per hour. Radar indicating the wind gusts and quarter-size hail. And again, if you're on our video channels right now, WIBW News on Facebook, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, you should be seeing the radar from the National Weather Service showing what are right now the most severe portions of the storm in our listening area. Hail damage to vehicles expected with this severe thunderstorm warning we were telling you about. The locations impacted include Ottawa, Garnett, Burlington, Linden, Pomona, Waverly, Richmond, Colony, Williamsburg, New Strawn, Quennamo, Melbourne, Gridley, Princeton, Westphalia, Olivet, Beto Junction, Harris, John Redmond Reservoir, and Melbourne Lake, including Interstate 35 between mile markers 150 and 188. There is also severe thunderstorm warning for southern Douglas County until 4:45 p.m. Central Time. At 4:11 p.m., a severe thunderstorm was located near Globe, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail indicated by radar. Locations impacted include Baldwin City, Eudora, Lone Star, Pleasant Grove, and Vinland. So these are recently issued severe thunderstorm warnings for southern Douglas County, and then also one for Franklin County, all of Franklin County, western Anderson County, southeastern Osage County, and all of Coffee County. This is in addition to the active tornado warning. We do have an update on that tornado warning. At 4:13 p.m. Central Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Melbourne, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. Radar has indicated rotation and quarter-size hail with this storm. Flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. tree damage is likely. Locations impacted with this tornado warning include Waverly, Melbourne, and Interstate 35 between mile markers 158 and 167. If you are one of the locations impacted, take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building and avoid windows. If you are outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Again, a tornado warning remains in effect until 4:30 p.m. Central Time for southeastern Osage and northeastern Coffee counties. We continue to look at the radar and watch this storm move to the northeast, kind of right along I-35 as well as it crosses over Highway 75, storm tracking towards the area again. Melbourne, tracking towards Pomona, tracking toward Ottawa, Centropolis, as it continues to move along with, again, rotation indicated by radar. Just a little southeast of Osage City, which right now is dealing with some rain. You can see some severe rain coming through, but no severe warning for Osage City. The only warnings that we do have in effect, we have that tornado warning. We also have the severe thunderstorm warnings that we have told you about. And I believe we've just received another severe thunderstorm warning. And I am trying to see if that is true or if it was just a update to a previous warning. But we are keeping an eye on the severe weather moving through our listening area this afternoon here on 580 WIBW. Tornado warning remains in effect until 4:30 p.m. Central Time for southeastern Osage and northeastern Coffee counties. Taking a broader look at the severe weather. Again, if you're in Topeka, if you're, as we are, of course, sitting up here on Huntoon Hill right now, you are not really in a line of storms. This line of storms is developing and moving south and to the southeast of Topeka, moving again towards Douglas County, moving towards I-70 in that area. There's also a cluster of some severe storms to the northeast of Topeka, starting to track toward Oskaloosa and Winchester, although that little cluster kind of broke off from the main cluster and appears to kind of be decreasing perhaps in intensity as it goes. There's the severe storm, the severe thunderstorm warning for Douglas County. That storm appears to be increasing, gathering in intensity as it approaches K10 and it approaches Lawrence. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that one. And again, the one that is of the most concern right now is the created the tornado warning in effect for southeastern Osage and northeastern Coffee counties, including Waverly and Melbourne, including Interstate 35 between mile markers 158 and 167. And that may have just been canceled. We'll double check on that before we make that official. But again, just keeping an eye on this severe weather line of storm that is developing and has been a threat. We've known about the threat all day. Tornado watch persists for a good deal of our listening audience. If you're in Shawnee County, as we are, that's kind of the northeast edge, I guess you would say, because due west of Topeka and due north of Emporia, there's no tornado watch and no real severe threat of the storms at this time. It does look like they've canceled that tornado warning, though. So at least as we are aware, that tornado warning has been canceled. We'll continue to keep an eye on these severe thunderstorm warnings. We do have an update on the one through 4:45 Central Time for Franklin, northwestern Anderson, southeastern Osage, and northern Coffee counties. At 4:18 p.m. Central Time, severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Pomona Lake to near Williamsburg, 7 miles northwest of Westphalia, moving northeast at 65 miles per hour. Radar indicating up to 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail as that storm moves northeast. Locations impacted include Ottawa, Garnett, Burlington, Linden, Pomona, Waverly, Richmond, Williamsburg, New Strawn, Quennamo, Melbourne, Princeton, Westphalia, Olivet, Vito Junction, Harris, John Redmond Reservoir, Melbourne Lake, and including Interstate 35 between mile markers 153 and 188. With the tornado warning having been canceled, we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break here on 580 WIBW and 580 Sports Talk. If there are further tornado warnings, we will continue to pass those along. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll do What Is Wrong With You. We'll get everybody reset a little bit. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. We're still going to hear from Brett Veach this hour. I owe you a keyword for the Win 1K a Day sweepstakes. So be listening. I'll give that to you after we come back from this timeout. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW. We are going to crown a What Is Wrong With You champion for the week in this segment of 580 Sports Talk. Before we do that, though, let's get you your Win 1K a Day sweepstakes word of the hour. Again, you're going to want to text this keyword to 785-272-9429. Felt a little crass to do that during a tornado warning, so I didn't give it out earlier. Apologize for that, but we do have a word of the hour. Text this word to 785-272-9429. And you will be registered for a chance to win $1,000 today here from 580 WIBW. The word this hour is woman. 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 That's the singular form. Woman. 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 Text woman to 785-272-9429. And you will be registered this hour. You have until 5 o'clock to text woman to 785-272-9429. And once you do, you'll be registered for your chance to win $1,000 from 580 WIBW. All right, let's do some What Is Wrong With You, shall we? Our current weekly champion is the Bare Bottom Burglar. It's a great story. It's a great name. It's a 21-year-old who is creeping, prowling homes in Northern Virginia, doing so in the wee hours of the morning, and doing so with shoes and a mask and nothing else to cover him. And hence the name Bare Bottom Bandit. So that's our current weekly champ. I'm going to go first today. We are going to go to Disney World, where we meet 47-year-old Virgin Atlantic flight attendant Keith Newman, who has been arrested for an incident that occurred February 20th at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando. Keith Newman, 47-year-old British man, was in line to ride the Tiana's Bayou Adventure attraction. Now, I know nothing about this. I've never been to Disney World. You been to Disney World, Spencer?
When I was in second grade.
So a long time.
Yes.
I went to Disneyland. Went to the one in California. Went to Disneyland when I want to say I was 8, so probably around the same age as you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no background on Disney World. I don't know if Tiana's Bayou Adventure ride is cool or not. 47-year-old man wanted to ride it, so must not be that lame. Anyhow, he's in line for this ride, and an 18-year-old girl and her friend tried to skip the line. They told Newman they were just trying to catch up to their friends who were ahead, but Newman refused to let them through. When the teen tried to go around Newman, he shoved her with both hands and caused her to fall backward into her friend. Newman denied the shove, telling cops she walked into his hand. Yeah, okay. Likely story. He was arrested, hit with a battery charge. He pled not guilty, returned to the UK after being released on bail. The victim's father told the Daily Mail that the flight attendant's behavior was inexcusable, saying, "I hope this sends a message that it's never okay to put your hands on someone else except for self-defense, especially someone a lot younger than you and from the opposite sex. My daughter's 5'2" and 120 pounds. There's no mistaking the fact she was a child. So for him to put his hands on a child, he was dead on wrong. It's inexcusable what he did." I don't like people that jump the line either. But if it's two people and they like tell me, "Oh, we're just trying to catch up to our friends," I'm gonna believe them. Like, what's the worst thing that happens? You got to wait a little while longer to ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure. You're at Disney World, man. You got all day.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for. You are 47 years old, sir. You are too old to be fighting teenagers or line jumping, especially when it does not appear. And again, we only get the one side of the story here, but it doesn't appear that they were like making a ruckus, jumping over the ropes. They were just trying to get with their friends. Their friends probably holding a spot in line for them. They probably went to the bathroom, go get a funnel cake, something like that. This dude shoves a teenage girl with two hands in the chest. Can't be that, brother. Can't be that. What is your story today?
Yes. I had this story picked out for yesterday, but obviously with the Royals going late, didn't have time for what was wrong with you yesterday. We're going to Wildwood, Florida. A man from Largo was arrested in Sumter County when troopers with the Florida Highway Patrol pulled over a pickup truck towing a camper along I-75 with the assistance of a canine unit, which alerted a well-trained dog. Troopers inspected the inside and found thousands of pounds of marijuana. Wednesday evening, FHP troopers arrested William Hicks, 55, close to Wildwood along I-75 while he was heading south. According to the arrest reports reviewed by 10 Tampa Bay News, Hicks was placed under arrest for allegedly trafficking marijuana. Arrest records show that Hicks was pulled over after a trooper claimed he was failing to maintain a single lane while driving and was following another car at a not reasonable or prudent distance. Once he pulled over, the page just lost me there. Once he was pulled over, Hicks said he was on the phone with his doctor. The interior had a lived-in appearance and was unable to provide insurance or vehicle registration information. The trooper records state then asked Hicks to step out and go with him to the trooper's car. While standing outside of the vehicle, the trooper smelled a faint odor of fresh marijuana emitting from the pickup's interior. Around that time, another trooper arrived and deployed Lobo, a trained police dog. The canine with the dog indicated Lobo had alerted. When troopers opened they alerted on the camper. When they opened the camper, they smelled a strong odor of marijuana, which only grew stronger as they opened the second door. Needless to say, they removed 15 large bags of marijuana from the front part of the camper and 47 large bags, as well as medium-sized paper bags of marijuana from the rear. After calculating the total weight, the trooper said it was 2,025.7 pounds with packaging. He was arrested and transported to Sumter County jails, facing multiple charges such as drug and marijuana trafficking and possession.
It is so much marijuana. It is a stack of bags that is half as tall as the state trooper SUV that they've got it all collected in front of. There would be nothing but marijuana in that camper.
Yeah. So I found a story initially, and it was just like 5 lines. and it just the pictures, and I was like, I had to find more context. But yeah, so it was in the camper, and the truck was lived in, which they thought was probably sketchy. So then they're like,
yeah, because there's no room for you to sleep when everything, the entire camper is just for the weed.
yes. But again, we've got another instance of a criminal doing something illegal while also doing something more illegal, not maintaining lanes.
Yeah, it can't be that. I am wins today.
Yeah.
I'm going to give that one the edge. I don't think we beat the bare bottom burglar, though.
No, I think that's got to win the week.
That's just running around the neighborhood with
And it's like his first
yourself out.
thing
Yeah,
he's been
first
arrested
offense.
for.
No criminal history for the guy. Just happened to get caught. He was recognized by the fact that he wasn't wearing any clothes. The bare bottom burglar is our weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we're going to hear from Brett Veach, some of what he had to say to the media when he spoke yesterday. I think this is really interesting stuff. I think it's very revealing about how he feels about the draft board. Might even reveal how the Chiefs are going to approach next Thursday's first round of the draft. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. .434 on 580 Sports Talk as we continue to keep you up to date on the latest weather-related happenings. A severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 4:45 p.m. for Franklin, northwestern Anderson, southeastern Osage, and northeastern Coffee counties. At 4:29, severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Centropolis to near Princeton to 3 miles southeast of Harris, moving east at 60 miles per hour. Radar indicating 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts and nickel-size hail. Locations impacted include Ottawa, Garnett, Pomona, Richmond, Williamsburg, Quennemo, Princeton, and Harris, including I-35 between mile markers 166 and 188. There's also the ongoing severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 4:45 p.m. for southeastern Douglas County, including Baldwin City, Eudora, Pleasant Grove, and Vinland. There's also been a severe thunderstorm warning for Nope, check that. That's the same one. Apologies. Nothing new to pass along there. But as our show continues, we're with you until 5:30 here today on 580 Sports Talk. We will keep you up to date. We'll even break into Royals coverage if necessary tonight if the severe threat of weather does continue. Brett Veach spoke with the media via Zoom yesterday, the Chiefs general manager, and honest to goodness, it was 30 very interesting minutes that if you're a real diehard, it's probably interesting to listen to in full. We're not going to play it in full for you today. What we are going to do is play you some of the highlights, play you some of the more interesting questions that I thought Brett Veach was asked about this upcoming draft process, and also some of the offseason moves that the Chiefs have made. And I think these early questions in particular are very revealing about what direction the Chiefs might go in the first round of the draft coming up on Thursday. We are less than a week away from the start of the NFL draft. So here is Chiefs General Manager Brett Veach speaking to the media from yesterday.
Hey, Brett. Kelsey, I have a quick follow-up. First off, can you just give an overview of number 9 pick and the options you see available to you there?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a unique draft. And, we're at the Combine. I had mentioned that when you have a couple of those positions at the quote-unquote non-premium positions up there being really high, it kind of leads to different paths in regards to what you want to take. I think, the position we're in, I think we have some talent on our team, and, our expectation every year is to go out there and try to win our division and make the playoffs and have a chance to compete for a championship. But, with that being said, there's a lot of areas to improve on our roster on both sides of the football. So I think it does open up that 9 pick to go in any one direction. And certainly we'll see how the first 5 or 6 picks go. But I think whether it's, the defensive backfield, the offensive line, edge rusher, receiver, again, we need help in all those areas. So I do think that, we'll be in a position there to get one of those players and then add throughout the course of the draft. So I just think where we are with our roster, you really can't eliminate any one need because I think, there are a lot of them.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about offensive tackle. Can you just give an overview of that position and potentially where you guys might look to address that in the draft?
Yeah, I think there is certainly talent there. I do think, though, that, I just trying to project this draft, it looks like you have those 5, 6, 7, 8 names that everyone is kind of sharing across the board, and there's a consensus. And so I think in some of those, there are a couple linemen creep in. But I do think that if they don't creep into that first 8, 9, 10 slots, I think you're going to get a massive run of offensive linemen from 10 to 20, 25. So I think there are numbers there, but I think that once you get to pick, say, 35, those numbers quickly diminish. And then there's a big fall off where in some rounds you had depth throughout the course of the draft. For example, I think the end, I think it's solid through 2.5, maybe even 3, where offensive line, there's some talent there, but I do think it dries up quickly. And by 35, it could be slim pickings.
Hey, Brett.
Hey, Sam.
You mentioned the non-premium positions. I just wonder if you could speak more just to the oddity of a lot of the top talent seems to be those non-premium positions, and just how you'll balance the premium position in this draft given that situation.
Yeah, I think our goal is to just make that selection and add a player here that is going to be an impact player on our team. And I know it's cliche-ish, but I mean, to really just add the best player available, right? You hear that all the time, but I think I don't want to overthink that. And I don't want to take, a lesser player, just someone that's going to come in here, be an impact player, help us from day one. I think that's extremely important to us. I think it's, Sam, unique because with this draft, when you do have some of those, whether it be running back or quarterback, safety, when those numbers are higher up there, and then the other numbers get shifted down, I think what you get then is more discrepancy with the premium positions. So I don't know if I'm saying this eloquently enough, but I think that the fans will be in for a treat next Thursday, because I think that, the grades are going to be so close from some of these tackles and DNs and other receivers that a lot of these guys that are mocked high may go a little lower, and a lot of these guys that are getting mocked a little lower may go a little higher, because I think they're so close this year. It's not this huge gap and big fall off. And even with the offensive linemen, I mean, there's traits that you like and some things that all these guys need to clean up and work on. But I think that the grades are so close that it'll come down to the scheme fit and, the coach's analysis, the vision, the fit for these guys. So I think it should be an entertaining night and look to probably be a lot of trades. And I think that's what a draft like this, when you don't have, 2 or 3 franchise quarterbacks and, a Will Anderson or a Myles Garrett, I think it does lend itself to open up to a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. So I think from a fan's perspective, they should have a lot of fun next Thursday.
And then the second thing I had was just, where do you see maybe the pockets of this draft? I mean, you mentioned position specific, but just overall, do you see specific pockets in this draft where it might be pretty good?
I had mentioned the offensive line. I think that there are quite a number of tackles, but I think it does fall off, right after that first round. Maybe it extends to pick 35 or 40. I think, receivers, it's maybe not as top heavy as it was in the past. There might be a little break, but I do think that there's some mid-round depth there at the receiver position. As everyone knows, it's kind of thinner this year at the running back position. I think corner is just kind of sprinkled. I mean, there's some moderate depth there in one, partly into two, and then like the receivers, you always get a run of corners in 3 and 4. I think that there's a mid to lower level pack of linebackers that are really deep. So I think, again, it's team dependent too. So, I mean, obviously our board doesn't look like other teams' boards. So, I think just generally speaking, Sam, I think, there's mid-pocket depth at the receiver position, potentially at the corner position. I think that there's really good DN depth right throughout the board. I do think the running back position is a little light this year. And as I mentioned, the offensive tackle position is good in 1 to early 2, and then it kind of thins out there a little bit. So again, that's just how we see it. Other teams may see it differently. And I think having the picks and the amount that we do, it'll give us a chance to navigate the board a little bit.
Brett, when it comes to pass rushers, wide receivers, and running backs, what's the toughest thing to translate or predict from college to what they will be in the league?
Well, I think anytime that with any player, I look back at the guys we drafted. It's just their ability to come in here and acclimate to our scheme and what our coaches want, and that's why our guys do such a tremendous job on the road and spend all that time with these guys. And it's really just their ability to come in here, and they're gonna have a lot on their plate early on, and that's what our coaches do. And on one end, there's an element of growth with all these young guys, but and it's not high school or college where we like to redshirt guys. We want to have guys come out there and play and be successful right away. But I just think that the key for any of these guys to be successful here is their ability to be able to maintain and retain information. It's always different and unique. I mean, there are some guys that have come into our system and we expected them to take a year or two and they've played right away. And there's guys that we expected a lot early on and it's taken them time. So I don't know if there's a great answer or recipe for identifying one particular thing, but I would just say overall having that that comfort with their mental aptitude and their ability to handle the playbook. And Coach Reed obviously is no different than Spags, but Spags is certainly it's fun to work with him on this. But if you guys had a chance to listen to our Zooms, especially the linebacker Zooms, half the time I don't even know what they're talking about. So there's a lot put on these guys early on, and I think that that's why we do such a good job with bringing these guys in and getting as much information as we can, just to make sure they can handle that mental workload.
And from your first draft as GM now, what have been the biggest learn during that time from the draft process to the draft week when you're in charge?
Yeah, I think that patience is obviously required. I think you spend so much time on these guys and you have such strong convictions over players. It's one of those things that when you do the amount of work and you live in a film room, I think you get into this mindset where you think everybody sees the board just like you because you're in there. And again, I'm not saying that our boards are always right, but you think that everyone thinks like you. And so even now, like when I'm doing our mocks and I'm trying to project the first 5, 6, 7, 8 picks, I'm thinking, well, this is definitely going to happen. This is definitely going to happen. Then what happens is that it doesn't happen because not everyone sees the board like you. So I think it's just, being patient and being fluid and having an understanding that there'll be more guys that you like later on in the draft, and not operating with that mindset that, again, everyone sees it just like you, and the exact guys you like are going to fall in the exact order. And that's one of the things that even to this day I struggle with because, it's one of those things where, our guys do such a tremendous amount of work, and, it's a collective unit here, and it's a collective process. And there's an element of wanting to leave the draft with the guys that we're all excited about. And that leads to being aggressive because you just want to make sure you get those guys, right? But, there's certainly something to be said for being patient and dealing with more volume and having the ability to add more players to this roster. So I think patience is the biggest thing, and that's something I'm still working on today.
Brett, just a question about your primary free agents. With Ken, does this signify potentially a reshaping of the offensive identity? And then just why Tonga and why Gilman?
Yeah, I think first off, with Ken, to your point, Pete, we do have some talent on the offensive line. I mean, everyone knows the potential and the flashes that Josh has shown, and then working on that interior with Kingsley and Trey and Creed. I think it'd be a smart play to take advantage of that interior trio there, and to be more violent and to kind of utilize those guys in their strengths. So when you had a guy like Ken Walker, I mean, that was why he was so attractive to us. I mean, he has explosive speed, and he can do damage in the pass game. I don't think he got enough credit for that because they had Charbonnet, but I think when he squares his shoulders and he runs with power, runs with violence, but also has some elusive quality. So I think when you combine a back like that, and you have a talented as inside three as you do, I think it would make sense to want to go out there and impose your will on other teams' defensive lines. And look, it'll be beneficial for Pat too. I don't think we want him back there dropping back 50, 60 times a game, to start the season. So, I think that is going to be something we're looking forward to. And certainly with EB coming back here, I think, with his running back roots, there's going to be a high priority with that run game. So, I think we're excited about that. And, the other guys, as you mentioned, Pete, with Alohi, I mean, just having over the years, having a Tyrann Mathieu, then having a Justin Reed, just having a cerebral player there that sees the field, can be a leader back there, get everyone lined up. We lost Brian Cook too. So, we wanted to make sure that, and look, it doesn't mean we won't add if we can get a similar player that has those leadership capabilities back there, but certainly didn't want to go through an offseason and kind of come away after the draft and not have a player like that. So I think, again, he fits that mold. And when you had success, I mean, like I mentioned, you had a guy like the Badger and you had a guy like Justin Reed back there. So although he kind of fits that bill, and I think really, when you come into the offseason and you look at our defensive line, I mean, you have Chris Jones and then Omar Norman-Lott, who's coming off an injury. I mean, I still think that we need two more. So Tonga was a guy that had a great season, and he gives us a little bit more of an athletic nose that does have some pass rush ability. But again, even with the addition of Tonga, I still think that we're a few short there. So that will be certainly a definite position of need for us entering next week.
That was some of what Brett Veach had to say to the media in a Zoom call yesterday. Thing that stood out the most to me, he's talking about draft pockets, and he's telling you exactly what he thinks about basically every position the Chiefs need in the draft and how badly the Chiefs need one of those spots. I was talking about this with Matt Derrick in the 3 o'clock hour, our Chiefs insider, regarding tackle. He talks about, I think there are quite a number of tackles, but I think it falls off after the first round. Like there's that group that a lot of people think could go in the top 10. You're Spencer Fano and Francis Moanoa. Yeah. Then there's Monroe Freeling. There's Caden Proctor. There's another group that could go later on in that first round. And Veach saying, and after that group of guys, not real good. So that tells me if the Chiefs don't address tackle early, if they don't do what the national media somehow is weirdly insistent that they're going to do, then I don't think this is a draft where they take a tackle. Doesn't feel like at the draft where they do that. Also mentions mid-round depth at the receiver position. Corner sprinkled. DN depth throughout the board. And those are all positions of significant need for the Chiefs. And for Veach to say that, and for Veach to point out that they've had 12 defensive ends on team visits. They've had a ton of defensive ends visit. I think it all adds up to a Chiefs team that is going to let the board fall however it falls. A Chiefs team, they don't feel like they're going to have to reach for a certain thing or a certain position at 9 if they don't love the player, if they don't love the fit. They can go best player at position of need at number 9, maybe even at number 29 as well, and let every other need that they have in the draft sort of fall to them as things go. It struck me listening to that Brett Veach is going to approach this draft not feeling like if we don't check this box at number 9, we're not going to be able to do it. Or if we don't check this box in the first round, we're not going to be able to do it. And I think that gives the Chiefs, I think they come in with a lot of flexibility. And we've sort of had that thought as we've gone along through this draft process. But I think that what Veach says about how this draft board falls and where he sees the strengths and the weaknesses of it, I now really believe in the flexibility that this Chiefs team has entering next Thursday's first round. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, I'm going to change my mind to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. .454 on 580 Sports Talk. We're wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour of the show today with a little Change My Mind. Change my mind, Spencer. Jordan Tyson and not Ruben Bain now feels like the most likely selection for the Chiefs at number 9.
I don't know. I just if Bain's still on the board, I think they might get him.
I think with all of the, I shouldn't say all, but some notable national mock draft types mocking Tyson to the Chiefs at 9. Tyson reportedly had a workout today that went very well. He reportedly had taken a visit with the Chiefs. I don't think Carnell Tate will be there. I think he's going to be the first receiver off the board. But if they have a chance to add, I guess the end of the day, what question mark do you feel the best about? Ruben Bain's short arms or Jordan Tyson's injury history? What do you feel is easier to overcome?
The short arms.
I kind of think it is too. Like, I'm still leaning in Bain's direction. Like,
Yeah.
if it were me, for my pick today, and Bain's on the board at 9 and Tyson's on the board at 9, I'm still going with Bain, just because I think the need. I think they have a pretty severe need at both spots, but I think the need is more severe at edge. But it would not surprise me if now things were trending in a direction where the Chiefs are looking at Jordan Tyson more seriously.
Changed my mind. The Royals hitting floodgates open yesterday.
I think it did. I think that was a lot of good at bats. It wasn't a lot of bloop singles or
Everybody but Kyle Isbell had a hit.
Yeah, and they hit the ball hard. And Vinny left the park, and you can see it coming around for him. Salvi hit one out. Bobby's driving the ball hard to the pull side again. Lane Thomas is getting on base. That felt good. It did feel like an offensive catharsis for the
breakthrough.
Royals.
You need that one. Sometimes you just need one breakthrough.
Have to get one.
Yeah.
One good game can float you. Now, you're not exactly running into an easy mark tonight.
No.
Cam Schlittler is awesome. He throws strikes and he throws gas. He's going to come right at the Royals tonight. But Royals obviously should be, not in desperation mode on April 17th, but they should be in fight mode like they were yesterday when they dug out of that 6-1 deficit. We'll see how they fare against the Kid tonight. That game right here, 580WIBW.com. Coming up, pregame coverage will be at 5:30 with the first pitch at 6:05, which means we've only got half an hour left on 580 Sports Talk. And with that final half hour, we're going to get you some sports headlines, some local high school basketball coaching news, Gary Woodland at the RBC Heritage in the mix, and the first playoff roundup of the year. Coming up, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Final half hour of the day, final half hour of the week here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you for another 24 minutes before Royals baseball tonight here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. Royals pregame at 5:30, first pitch at 6:05 from Yankee Stadium. The boys in blue try to snap a 4-game slide against the Yankees. Michael Wacha, right guy on the mound for Kansas City. He's been outstanding to start the year with a 0.43 earned run average. He'll be opposed by Yankee rookie right-hander Cam Schlittler, who was a sensation, called up late last year, had a dominant playoff start against the Red Sox in the wild card series. He's 2-1 on the young campaign with a 249 earned run average. 6:05 first pitch. You'll be able to hear all the action right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9.
Do you know what the weather is in the Bronx?
Not as bad as it is
yeah, I was gonna
here.
say, well, it also isn't as bad as it is at Coors Field where your team plays.
Yeah, they got some snow in Denver today. That well, they are playing the Dodgers tonight, so only an act of God could keep that game from being played, and I appreciate God's efforts on that front. But it looks like they probably will get that cleared off and play some baseball tonight. Partly cloudy, 72 degrees, 31% chance of precipitation for Royals Yankees tonight, per RotoWire's MLB weather report.
Okay,
best I got for you. So doesn't look like there'll be a weather interruption there, as Royals had plenty of those on Thursday, rather, in their marathon game and eventual 10-9 loss to the Tigers that completed the sweep for Detroit at home. 5:30 pregame, which means we've only got this final half hour of the show. If you want to be a part of it, text the program, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Hop in the live chat, and hey, if you're not subscribed to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, all the cool kids have done it. Why haven't you? Go subscribe. Slam that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. Help us get closer to our stretch goal of 1,000 subscribers. For 59 shy. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel today. 580 Sports Talk. We also owe you a Win 1K a Day sweepstakes word of the hour. It's our final word for today. Not the final word on the show. That's its own thing. That's later on. It's the final word for today that you can text to 785-272-9429. You text the word, you are entered for your chance to win $1,000 today. We're giving away $1,000 every day here at 580 WIBW. This hour's keyword is move. Move. M-O-V-E. Move. Move. Text move. M-O-V-E. Move to 785-272-9429. That's how you get registered. Text the word, just the word, nothing else. Just move. And you have until 6 o'clock to do it. 785-272-9429 is the number to text to get yourself registered to win. As far as what happens after you register and who picks the winners and everything, beyond my pay grade.
Yeah.
I know people have asked, and I wish I could tell you, but I can't because that's not my department. It really isn't. I just tell you how you can win. Unfortunately, I don't draw the names out of the hat or however it is that they do it. I don't.
This is a different way to do this contest that we've done before. That's
Yes,
probably why people are asking.
Right.
Because usually it's send it to like some random number that corporate has changed. But
right. Put it
they
on our
let us-
website.
Yeah.
But
they
no,
let
they're
us do it through our text line.
doing
now.
it through our text line this time around. So yeah, new way to try it, but I do not know on the back end. Like if you win the $1,000, they'll tell you. I guess that's the best.
You'll get a phone call or probably a phone call.
So all we've got your phone number. You know,
Yeah.
we're not collecting any other information here but your phone number. So yeah, if you win, you probably get a phone call or a text. And if you don't get a phone call or a text from us, then try again next week. We got 2 more weeks of this. The Win 1K a Day sweepstakes here on 580 WIBW. One more time, the keyword is move. Let's get to some headlines, shall we? We'll do some headlines here as we wrap up the show, wrap up the week. We'll start with some local sports. All of the high school basketball coaching vacancies in the city have now been filled. Shawnee Heights was first off the mark. They hired Katie Glassick as their girls basketball coach, replacing Bob Wells, and Brandon McDonald, former Rossville head coach, to replace Ken Darding as their boys head coach. Earlier this week, we found out that Seaman had tabbed former Jeff West head coach and former Washburn player Joe Smith as their new boys basketball coach, replacing the retiring Craig Cox. Rick Peterson reporting yesterday that Highland Park has chosen a new girls basketball coach. It's Christy Ewer-Eideker, and I apologize if I am pronouncing that name incorrectly, and apologize personally to Christy if I'm getting it wrong. So look forward to working with Christy as the new head coach at Highland Park. She replaces Rob Brown, who resigned following the previous season. She comes in with no high school head coaching experience, but she's been an AAU head coach and an assistant coach at the level. Now she takes over the helm of the Lady Scots. As for the Topeka High girls, who made state last season, and then the legendary Hall of Famer Ron Slaymaker, maybe now he means it when he's calling it a career at the age of 89. He's not been very good at retirement. Good at everything else about coaching except retirement. And I say that in jest. Coach Slay was great to work with the last 2 years. And honest to goodness, if somebody needed a coach, it wouldn't shock me. It really honestly wouldn't at this point. But
I do like him being a throwback and all. Like, he just you had a game with him, and he would show up to the station and you'd do your interview in person. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, he always wanted to come by the studio, and I really did enjoy working with Coach Slay. Anyway, replacing him, a familiar name, one of his assistants the last 2 years at Topeka High, Pat Denny, one of my favorites. I love Pat. He was previously the head boys basketball coach at Topeka High and won a couple of league championships, made it to the state tournament under Pat before he resigned. I want to say it was after the COVID year, 2020. That he stepped away. He was briefly the head coach at Shawnee Mission North after that, but had gotten out of being a head coach and seemed content to be an assistant. Certainly when I talked to him the last couple of years, he was enjoying it, being on the girls' side after having been a boys' head coach at Shawnee Mission North, Topeka High, previously at Holton as well. But Pat's got the bug, man. Coach is coach. You know, coach is coach. And he realized he was going to miss not getting ready for a new season with these girls. They've got a really good team coming back. Shy Rayton for her senior year, Haley Carroll for her junior year. They got a chance to be really, really good again next year. Want to keep that momentum going. So Pat Denny will coach the Topeka High girls next season, replacing Ron Slaymaker. Congratulations, both head coaches. Very much look forward to meeting and working with Christy at Highland Park. And like I said, Pat's one of my favorites. He's been wonderful to me over the years, and I'm excited to count him back among the ranks of the city's head basketball coaches in high school. That's our first headline today. Spencer, give me a headline.
Yeah, first headline from me. Kansas men's basketball, they've got another roster spot open because Corbin Allen has entered the transfer portal. He redshirted this past season out of KC Melda Oak Park High School. He was coached by KU alum, KU great Sharon Collins at Oak Park High School. And this is probably just the kid wanting to play basketball because he was more of a program player at KU, as it seemed. And he's probably going to get some, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some looks from UKC.
Yeah,
potentially.
Coach Mark Turgeon.
Yeah. It's a kid that wants to play ball, clearly. He essentially, Brendan and I were talking about this earlier today in the office. It's essentially like he went to prep school without going to prep school because he still got 4 years of eligibility left, and he learned from the greats, and he covered, he was practicing with Darren Peterson, a top few pick in the NBA draft coming up, and he learned from Bill Self for 1 year. So That's essentially like a prep year.
Yeah, if he, he goes on to play somewhere else, obviously wish him all the best. No ill will here. What I will say is the idea of the program player, I just don't think that exists anymore. I don't think that exists in the way that it used to exist. In the transfer portal era, you're just going to have fewer of those kids. I mean, you'll still have walk-ons, right? You'll still have walk-ons. But as far as guys who are program players who understand that maybe they top out as like bench depth. Maybe they top out as somebody who, plays 10 to 12 minutes a night here and there. And that's like the best maybe that their career could be at a school. Maybe they start as a senior. Like those kinds of players, I just don't think that exists anymore. In the portal era, in the NIL era, I just don't think that exists at the higher levels of college basketball. And I think that's something is lost with the loss of program players. But yeah, all the best to Corbin Allen, and another scholarship open for KU. Next headline for me, we go to golf. Gary Woodland had a fine Thursday at Harbor Town on Hilton Head at the RBC Heritage. Shot a 6-under 65 and was only 2 shots off the lead. Had one of the early tee times and threw down a marker. Today, though, one of the late tee times. Course might have gotten a little tougher as Friday went along. G-Dub with a 1-under par 70 today to get to 7 under for the tournament, but now finds himself 7 shots back of the pace and a tie for 14th. Matt Fitzpatrick with a 63 today. He was the low man on the course. Him and Akshay Bhatia both shot 63s. So Matty Fitz, 14 under par for the weekend, or going into the weekend. He's got a 1-shot lead over Victor Hovland, and he's 4 up on Harris English. Woodland's got good company at 7 under. Fellow former major champions Colin Morikawa and Scotty Scheffler also 7 under par for the first 2 days of the tournament. Yeah, boy, Michael Brennan, 8 under par.
He's just flashing on the scene. The confidence you get from Augusta, man.
Yeah, this is a big week for guys who maybe play well at Augusta, maybe have been playing well lately. Try and jump up in one of these. What do they call them? The signature events with these $20 million purses on the PGA Tour, and get themselves a big piece of that. So G-Dub's going to play the weekend and in a tie for 14th. And hey, another good showing. If he can have another top 20 or maybe even work his way into the top 10, that gets him closer to maybe getting into the FedEx Cup playoffs this year after he missed them last season. All the best to G-Dub this weekend out on Hilton Head. I'd rather be on Hilton Head. I'll tell you that right now. Next headline, Spencer.
Yeah, let's jump to the NFL. The Texans have reached a contract extension agreement with Will Anderson. He's getting $50 million a year for 3 years, a 3-year, $150 million extension that makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. A source told ESPN's Adam Schefter the deal includes $134 million in guaranteed money. That surpasses the deal given to Micah Parsons after he was acquired from the Cowboys. The Parsons signed a 4-year, $188 million extension that included $120 million fully guaranteed at signing and $136 in total guarantees. So
what I think is fascinating is that he got money before CJ Stroud got his money. They picked up CJ Stroud's option for 2027, but year 3, usually it's after 3 years, because this was the case with Mahomes. 3 years, you've got the guy.
Yeah.
That's when you pay. That's when you pay your quarterback. Haven't paid CJ Stroud yet.
Well,
I see the vision with Stroud, but I also understand, like, he was not really great this last season. It seemed like he regressed. I think some of that's the protection or the lack of protection he's had the last couple of years. He was obviously terrible in their playoff game. The Texans, the generous reading to Stroud is that they are committed to defense first. And this doesn't have anything to do with Stroud. And what it is a commitment to fortifying the defense. And that's how they think they're going to be contenders in the AFC, is with their defense. And there's no question Will Anderson Jr. is worth that kind of money. No question about it. But it is fascinating because usually that's not the order of operations. Usually you got the young quarterback that needs the extension. He's the one who eats first. And then you take care of everybody else. Texans kind of doing it backwards. All right. It is time It will be a staple on our 580 Sports Talk headlines over the coming weeks and months. It is the return of the Playoff Roundup.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
On cue this time, I was ready.
You were ready. We're fired up.
Ready for the playoffs.
We're very excited to have the playoff
Even though
roundup.
none of my teams are in.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. The NBA and the NHL will both begin their postseasons in earnest this weekend. I say in earnest because the NBA playoffs have actually already been ongoing. The play-in tournament has been going on this week, and tonight they will finalize the bracket with a pair of win and in games. First in the Eastern Conference, it'll be the Charlotte Hornets at the Orlando Magic, and then the late game will be the Western Conference play-in between the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. The winners of those games will be the number 8 seeds in their respective conferences and play in the East, the Detroit Pistons, which shout out to you, the listener. I know we're not in a big NBA market here, but if you knew the Pistons had the best record in the Eastern Conference, you follow the league. Obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champions, the number 1 seed out west, and they'll play either Golden State or Phoenix. The other first-round playoff matchups are as follows. In the Eastern Conference, the number 2 seed, the Boston Celtics, and they'll take on the number 7 seed Philadelphia 76ers. 3 seed is the New York Knicks. They'll take on the Atlanta Hawks. And the 4-5 series, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number 4 seed, and the number 5 seed Toronto Raptors. In the Western Conference, Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs, and the number 2 seed, they'll take on the number 7 seed Portland Trailblazers. Remember when the Trailblazers coach got arrested, got popped on federal gambling charges before the season? And then they made
right around the beginning of the season.
Right around the start of the season. Yeah, they made the playoffs anyway.
Wow.
Probably because Chauncey Billups wasn't really that good a coach.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the Trailblazers are the 7 seed. They'll take on Wemby and the Spurs. The number 3 seed Denver Nuggets take on the number 6 seed Minnesota Timberwolves. 3rd year in 4 that those teams have met in the postseason. The number 4 seed Los Angeles Lakers take on the number 5 seed Houston Rockets. The Lakers have both Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves out due to injury, so it's LeBron and the Pips. And not like young LeBron and the Pips. It's old LeBron and the Pips going up against the Rockets in that series. Who you got? Who's going to win the NBA title, Spencer? I know you're more of a hockey guy. We'll get your thought there. But
Give me, you know what? I'm going to say Boston.
all right, we'll say Boston for their second title, or what would be their second title in 3 years. I think picking anybody but the Thunder, you're just doing it to be a contrarian. They're pretty clearly the best team. They are also a stain on the game of basketball, a total perversion of what the game ought to be. The NBA product is dying, and it's because the way the Thunder play basketball is allowed to thrive, and the way that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays basketball is allowed to thrive. And until that is fixed, the NBA will never prosper. But the Thunder are probably going to win it again. Deeply annoying to me personally. The NHL's playoffs also begin this weekend. Matchups over in the Eastern Conference. You have the champion of the Metropolitan Division, and the way they do the playoffs is funky and honestly kind of stupid in the NHL. They play the basically divisional playoffs, where it's the 2 plays the 3 and the 1 plays a wild card. So the winners of the Metropolitan, the Carolina Hurricanes, best team in the Eastern Conference, will play the worst wild card team, the Ottawa Senators. The 2 and the 3 in the Metropolitan, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, Penguins Flyers. The champions of the Atlantic, the Buffalo Sabres, first time in the playoffs for 15 years for the Sabres. They'll play the Boston Bruins, one of the other wild card teams. Tampa Bay and Montreal is the other Atlantic series. In the West, the best team in the league, the President's Trophy winners, the Colorado Avalanche, will take on the Los Angeles Kings, while the Dallas Stars and Minnesota Wild play a series that would honestly be good enough to be a conference final, the other Central Division series. The Pacific Division champion Vegas Golden Knights will play the Utah Mammoth in their first trip to the playoffs since moving from Phoenix. The Edmonton Oilers and the Anaheim Ducks are the other Pacific Division series. There will be a new champion this year. The 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers did not make the playoffs. Who's it going to be? Who's going to raise the cup, Spencer?
It's not going to be the Flyers, because
Okay.
not happy with the Flyers.
Okay.
I'll go Dallas.
So the Colorado-Dallas series, that Dallas-Minnesota series determines everything for me, because if Dallas wins, they've got Colorado's number, and Colorado-Dallas series would be so grueling that it would be very hard for whoever wins that to get through the Pacific Division winner.
Also,
that's why Edmonton's been to the finals the last 2
when
years.
you're the President's Trophy winner,
it's a curse.
It's a curse, but also like they extended. Like I feel like they had a lot more points than your like normal President's winner.
They did. They had 120 plus points this year. Rare territory for the Avalanche. But you know what? In 2001, they won the President's Trophy and the Cup, and they're doing it again 25 years later. The Avs are bringing it home. We'll take a break, come back with a final word after this. Time for the final word on this Friday before we go to Royals baseball. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Yeah, Scarecrows in action tonight in Binghamton. Winner go home. They unfortunately fell 4-3 the other day, but they scored 3 to try to come back in the final period. They're going to use that momentum tonight to take it to game 3. Both games, 6 p.m. You can watch them on the Scarecrows YouTube page. So go Scarecrows.
Final word for me. I do believe that the Royals offensive breakout Thursday in Detroit can carry with them to New York. And I think it's going to need to. This Royals team, to get out of their funk, they don't just need a win. They need a comfortable win. They need one they don't have to sweat over with their scuffling bullpen trying to hold a 1 or a 2-run lead in that closet they play in there in the Bronx. Royals need a comfortable win. They need a laugher. They need something like 8-2. They got the right guy on the mound for it tonight. They're not facing the right guy for the Yankees on the mound for it, but that's what the Royals need to get out of their funk. Royals baseball's next. We're back on Monday from 3 until 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Good night.